the military out because the civilian population would just basically eat itself alive.
There's the X factor that we're not considering is what happens when there's an attack. Ukraine is a fantastic real world example of this right now. President Zelensky's approval rating on February 21st, 2022 was 30%. 30%. President Zelensky's approval rating on February 22nd, 2023 was 90%. Now, why am I saying that? Did the guy suddenly become an amazing president in 1 year? He's the same guy, right? That 90% approval rating came from a mix of gung-ho, hyper-nationalistic Ukrainians who are still in the country, because remember, they've had tens of millions of refugees leave the country. Plus, only a fraction of those gung-ho people can even get to a computer to take a survey. So it's a small sample size of a limited population that all answer 90% approval rating, right? But the thing that demonstrates is that when there's a common aggressor, everything changes. You and I are sitting here talking about the potential negative impact of woke culture. As soon as somebody pulls a gun on any of us, on you, me, or some person who self-identifies as they or them, we've got a common enemy. All of a sudden, we don't care about their pronouns. We care about the enemy. So if somebody were to attack the United States, we wouldn't eat ourselves from within. We'd sit there, we'd probably lock arms, pick up weapons, and fight the enemy. That's what we did after 9/11. I know you remember what 9/11 was like.
I definitely remember that. That was a different time.
It was a different time.
We weren't near as divided as we are today.
We weren't, but some of the most contentious activity we saw was coming from the Gore and Bush elections just prior to that.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to believe you. I really do. I just don't see. I don't see Americans locking arms. I just don't see it today.
We need a common enemy.
Yeah.
What scares me, to be very honest with you, what scares me is the fact that the administration also knows we need a common enemy.
Yeah.
So
I don't feel like the Trump administration did it. I don't feel like the Biden administration. I don't think unity is on anybody's agenda. And while I do agree that we need a common enemy to unite, I mean, the actions of both administrations are, in my opinion, extremely divisive.
I agree. But what I'm seeing at least, is that the Biden administration has wised up to the fact that Russia is not our common enemy. They've been preaching that for a year, right? Stand with Ukraine, Russia's the aggressor, Putin's illegal war, Putin's illegal invasion, Putin this, Putin that, Putin's dying of cancer, Putin's going to be pulled out of power by the oligarchs within. Like, how many times have they been wrong trying to tell us what's going to happen to Putin? I think they're waking up to the fact that Putin is not the common enemy America's looking for. Some of us have even gone as far as to say, maybe we're doing the wrong thing by supporting Ukraine, right? Even I have said that it's not a good idea to provoke Russia, because what we're doing now is playing into Russia's hands. Like, when this whole thing started, it was about countering Nazism in Ukraine. Putin didn't have a toe to stand on when that was his claim. Now, he has a very just claim saying that Ukraine is a proxy war of the West trying to eradicate Russia. He actually has an argument now. We gave him that argument. But my point is that the administration is realizing that the common enemy may actually be China. So now, as we turn our attention towards this conflict with China, and talking about chip wars, and talking about lethal aid to Russia, and talking about China bypassing international laws and whatever else, now all of a sudden, both sides of the aisle can get behind supporting Ukraine because it's an economic benefit. Mm-hmm. Both sides of the aisle can get behind putting our targets on China because we all see them as a true challenge and a true threat to our long-term role as a superpower.
I mean, In theory, I mean, can they actually do that though? When what, 2 years ago, anything bad you said about China, you were painted a racist.
We'll have to figure that out. Nobody's saying that now.
It's interesting,
It's
isn't
funny,
it?
right?
I mean, they're going to
We're
have
having
to.
a whole conversation about China right now, and we're not worried about anybody calling us racist.
Yeah. Well, I gave up on that stuff a long time ago. I don't know. Yeah, I just, it, you get canceled for anything nowadays. So it's,
We'll see what happens. We'll
Yeah.
see what the woke internet has to think about our conversation.
I don't think we're going to be painted as racist, but 2 years ago we would have been.
Yep.
Maybe a year ago we would have been.
Yep.
And so I mean, they're going to have to re-indoctrinate half of the population into thinking that that's not racist again.
Or half the population won't be smart enough to keep up with it anyways.
Well,
They'll be too busy scrolling through TikTok or giving up their time some other way.
very true. Is there anything else you want to cover with China?
No, man. I think especially for what could be a first conversation, to bring people up to date where we are today with China, I think we totally nailed it. Who knows what it'll look like 6 months from now? But right now, we've got a very accurate idea of China's role and China's implication as it stands today.
Perfect.